Okay, I'm working on this 2011 Chevy Cruze here. We're going to be replacing the front brake pads here today. Now this car has the rear drums, and you would have to check to see if yours has rear drums or pads. But I'm going to show you also how to pull your drum off and inspect those and make sure that those are good. So I'm going to be going with these ceramic brake pads up here in the front. I always use ceramic. This comes with the hardware as well. And you'll be amazed, you think the pads don't look bad when you put the new ones up there. There's a big difference. Now I do not have the rear drum, the shoes, so I suspect that those are not going to be worn that bad. The rear drums don't seem to wear near as fast as these front pads. This car's got 130,000 miles on it. You're going to need a foot-pound torque wrench. I've got a 19 millimeter for the lugs. I've got a T30 here so we can remove the drum on the rear. I've just got a 10 millimeter extension here and just a small ratchet. You're going to need a C-clamp. This is a 6-inch. A 6-inch is probably going to be the best. We've got an 18 here and then some medium Loctite, and I'm always using stuff on these slide pins. It's really good. Okay, so we went ahead and chalked the rear tire front and back. Okay, we got our jack and jack stand ready to go here. So we got a wooden block there, and you see we're just positioned there on the frame. Okay, before we go to lifting it, we're going to go ahead and take our hubcap off here and break these lugs loose. These are just the plastic ones. Okay, then we can lift that out of the way. Now we'll just break these loose slightly. We may need to get a cheater bar, depending on how snug they are. Okay, we got all those broke loose. We'll just go ahead and start lifting it up. We'll just get it up high enough to where we can get the wheel off and get our jack stand positioned. And we just got it positioned right there at the control arm. And we'll just leave the jack also. Okay, now we can just go ahead and finish removing our lugs here. Okay, we'll go ahead and get our wheel out of the way. Okay, so the first thing we've done is just turn the wheel to the left there so we can get to these a lot easier. Okay, next thing we're going to do is pop this brake line up. Okay, I've got my 10. We're just going to kind of come right through here where that rubber grommet was. Get that one broke loose. Okay, now we'll get the lower. Now here's where the 18 comes in. If this spins on you, you want to slip it right over that right there and hold it while you remove this bolt. Now it may or may not hang up on you. And the same way with torquing it, if it tries to spin, just hold that with your 18. So there's our first bolt. We'll get the upper one. Okay, and if this caliper tries to stick on you, you may have to come in here with a screwdriver and push back on that piston. And then it should easily pull right off of there. Okay, and you can see these brakes don't just look absolutely horrible, but it's time for them to get replaced. This one looks like it's actually got a little cracking or something in the pad there. You see how the front one is different. Then we'll go ahead, get the old hardware off. And you want to take a wire brush, just kind of make sure that it's clean and there's no corrosion or anything underneath these. There's our old hardware. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop this pin out, and we're going to make sure that it's clean and that it has grease and it doesn't look too bad. But we'll go ahead and we will wipe it off real good, and we'll take our this right here. All right. Okay, we'll get on our lower one. And same thing, just clean it off and get some nice clean grease on here. The bottom one is the one that's going to get water in it the most, if any of them do. Okay, so now we'll get our new hardware snapped on here. Okay, now for our upper, and you can see how these make sure it goes centered up as they go in between these two nubs up here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put our pads on, and just to show you the difference from the new one and the old one. A big difference. So this has got the little squeaker. We're going to make sure. Now you can put a little bit of this grease. I usually put a little dab, just a light dab on those contact points. And you can either shove the top up first or the bottom. Sometimes you can go at an angle. Just push down on one. Just like that. And then we've got the front here. You see how it has the little different made pad. Okay, so very easy to get those on there. And now we have to push our piston back since we got brand new pads. Okay, we got the hood up here. Now we want to monitor our reservoir. Right now we're in between the min and the max, so it's going to be fine. Now if it was up at the max, you'd have to get a syringe and probably take some of this out of here to be able to push that piston back. But this one is fine. We're just going to monitor it as we push the piston back. Okay, I got my 6-inch clamp. You can see we've just basically on that bolt. We got the old pad, and we're just going to slowly start pushing this back, and really nothing to it. And we'll just kind of hold this side. And like I said, I'm just going to monitor the reservoir, but I'm certain it's going to be fine because it's not that full. Now it may slip off. Just place it back on there. Push it all the way back. You'll know because it'll stop, won't go any farther. Go ahead and take that off. And we're ready to place it on. Okay, so with it pushed back, it will easily go on here. You push your pins in just slightly. I'm going to start with the upper. Got some blue medium Loctite. Start our 10mm. Just wiggle it. You should be able to thread it all the way down by hand. Don't try to put a wrench on it. Not yet. Okay, we'll get the lower. Okay, so same thing on the lower. A little bit of medium Loctite. Thread it all the way down by hand. Sometimes you got to wiggle it a little bit. It kind of gets in a bind. Okay, so we'll start snugging our 10mm up here. So we may have to hold it. We'll get our 18, get it in place so it's not trying to spin. We'll get on the upper. Okay, so we'll snug the upper one up. So it's not trying to spin actually. Right, so we got our torque wrench here. We got it set to 20 foot-pounds. That's plenty. And then we'll get on the lower. And just pop your brake line back into place. Okay, so we just went ahead and straightened the wheel back up. We're going to go ahead and get the tire back on at this point. Okay, we'll just snug these 19s up a little bit before we lower the vehicle. And of course, we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. And we'll be done with the front brake pads. Once we get it lowered, we'll go ahead and torque our lugs. We got our jack stand out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and torque these to 100 foot-pounds. We'll make sure to get our indentation at our valve stem up here. And all I do with these is just tighten them by hand. I mean, just with the socket. These, more than likely, are going to be stripped from previous times of being removed, but it doesn't take much to strip these little plastic lugs. They do a good job of holding the hubcap, but they're easy to strip. See, that one's slipping already. Okay, and before we move the car or the chocks, we're going to come in and we want to pump our brakes up and make sure these are solid. So we're going to push that piston all the way back down before we unchock our wheels and move on to the back. Okay, so now we just chalked our front and we're going to go on and check the back there. After pumping those up, I just wanted to show you the brake fluid, and you can see that it's like right in between the min and max there, so it's fine. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get our rear cover off. And just like on the front, we'll go ahead and break these loose slightly. Now we're right back here behind the door, and we're just getting on this part of the frame. We'll go ahead and get a jack stand under there in place. We just placed it right here at this axle point. Okay, so we got a little gold looking T30 right here. We're gonna have to hold this. You don't want to have your emergency brake on, obviously. Okay, so there's your little T30. And I will just wiggle this. Sometimes you got to get rough with them if they try to seize up on you. Okay, so there, we can take a look in here. And you can see these don't look bad at all. A little bit dirty maybe, but the new ones aren't that much thicker. So we're not going to mess with these. I don't know if they've been replaced, but they don't look bad, and usually these don't wear near as much. So we'll go ahead and line up our screw. I had not looked at those, but they look good, just as I suspected. And I will check the other side. Now the drums, the shoes are a little bit more pricey, and if your drums are worn a little bit too much, you'll have to replace them if you can't have them turned. So this all looks good here. I'll check the other side. We'll go ahead and get the wheel back on here and get it torqued. Alright, so that's going to do it on this video on placing these front brake pads, and the brakes feel a lot better than they were. And trying to think of how much they were. I think it was about $25–30. I'll leave some links. Now like I said, the rear shoes are a little bit more expensive, and when you check it, take a look at your drum. If you have a lip on that drum and a lot of wear, you're probably going to want to go ahead and replace the drums and the shoes. And like I said, I was going to do that here, but these are still in good shape. There's no need to mess with those. The drums and the shoes look really good, but I can leave some links to those. Anyways, I hope you found the video helpful, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to leave a comment, please do so. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and I thank you for watching.